Hey, what's up everyone, it's your girl Brain Shanae, and today I'll be sharing with you my mid-month wrap-up, so please stay tuned. And I am back, and also if you're new to my channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. So like I said before, I'll be sharing with you my mid-month wrap-up, all the books that I have read so far in December. So the first book we're gonna go start with is Snow Day by Julie Lipson. This is a romance novella, and it takes place in Europe. And so you have Amy, who is traveling from Venice, trying to get to Paris for Christmas to be with her boyfriend, because her boyfriend keeps raving on, my mom wants to see you, my mom wants to see you on Christmas. And so she's trying to pretty much be there for him because of that only. So she's traveling on the train, and she meets Martijn, who is, I feel like he's a romantic, and he's really nice to her. And as they're traveling on this on the train, they start to experience some issues as far as weather, and that is snow. Hence the title of the novella, Snow Day. So she's not able to get to Paris on time, and of course her boyfriend is upset, and he keeps telling her, you know what, you should have just got on the plane, my mom wants to see you, and I'm thinking to myself, like, why are you so pressed of your mom seeing her, like, and meeting her? Shouldn't you be more concerned about her safety? Make sure she gets there safely. Like, he was mostly concerned about his mother and not concerned about Amy. And Martijn was like, this is out of your control. You can try to get to Paris later on when the snow is settled, and stuff like that. So as they're stranded in this city, which I don't remember at the top of my head, they start venturing, and they start to experience the culture and the artist, like the architecture of where they are, of the town. And and I feel like she's able to grasp that experience because she's always on the go. And I do believe, like, her profession is mostly like architecture, I believe. So she's fascinated by that, and Martijn is also fascinated of her per se. And Martijn starts to fall for Amy. Amy's still, like, on the borderline because she still has a boyfriend who has these high expectations of her, and she doesn't, and I feel like she puts a lot of pressure on herself because of that. And they were, broken up, and they've gotten back together, and Martijn was like, why are you so stressed about that? And she's like, well, we've known each other for so long, so it makes sense that we just be together and stay together. And he's like, why? Well, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think when he was talking to her about it, I think she started to grasp that like, you should not be putting so much pressure on yourself to impress your boyfriend's mother, and he should be more concerned about your safety than anything else. And so pretty much as they fall for each other, and as the weather calms down and she's about to head to Paris, she reaches out to her boyfriend and be like, you know what, this isn't for me. This relationship isn't for me. The expectations you want from me is just too much. It's too high. I'm only a human being. And so she ends up staying with Martijn, and Martijn has issues with his family. He hasn't seen his family for a while, and he felt like, you know what, this is a good opportunity for me to do so. And Amy says, you know what, Martijn, can I join you? And so that's how that whole novella goes. Pretty much they're getting to know each other during this snowstorm in this small town where they pretty much where the train stopped because it couldn't continue on to Paris because due to the snow and the hazards of that. But I thought that was really cute. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm not sure, maybe a 5 out of 5 because it was an Audible, so it was an audiobook, and I do love the sound effects. It actually sounded like I was there in the city. You hear the train, you hear the songs of Christmas and the holiday and everything like that. It really felt real. Like, they did a great job with the sound effects for this audiobook. If y'all haven't read listened to it, I suggest you do so, because I really feel like the sound effects made a big difference for this audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. So I think I gave it either a 4 or 5 stars for this novella, and I really loved it. The next book that I read, which was on Audible, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and that is His Dream, Her Nightmare by Marla K. Morris. She actually reached out to me, and she was like, hey, I should read my book, and I loved it. I listened to it on audiobook, and it was amazing. Now, I will tell you there are some content warnings of rape, violence, abuse. That's pretty much the gist of it. I will let you know that is some content warnings on it, but overall it was really good. I feel like it's a realistic story. We're following Winnie and we're following Nelson. Nelson is this big time high school football player, and Winnie is mostly good for her schooling. She's really good at her work. She makes sure she turns her homework on time, and she really wants to have good grades. And of course Nelson is her boyfriend, and they're like in they're teenagers, so they're like 18. And this is earlier, I think in like the 70s or 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, Nelson likes to flirt and, you know, be around these other girls, but Winnie, you know, tells herself like, no, he really wants me. He's just messing around with him. He doesn't really care much about him. And that really bothered me, that Winnie just felt like, you know, I felt like her worth, she didn't really appreciate. Like, I'll say this, like, she let him do all that, but she felt like, no, he loves me and only me. Like, I get that, but he was still cheating on you, you know, like, you know. And I felt like at that moment, as their relationship was continuing on like that, I knew something was up with it. So, you know, he's flirting, being flirtatious with all these other girls, but then he confesses to Winnie that you're the only girl I want, you're the only girl I love. And, you know, he asks, Nelson asked Winnie's dad if he could marry her. So literally right after high school, they marry each other. And, you know, Nelson has his career, and, you know, Winnie starts having children. And then we started to see some things about Nelson. And next thing you know, there is a rape charge from many different women, and he goes to prison and also goes to therapy for it. And Winnie still stayed with him. She stood by her man, because that's how she was brought up. That's how it was done back in the day. Because no matter what, you stay by your man's side, right or wrong. And I know, like, back in the day, that was the thing. You know, I really wish it wasn't. That was an era during the time of my parents and my grandparents. So that's what they really, like, that's what she thought. That's how she was raised. You stay by your man regardless of what other people say. And that's what she did. And I think that's also why she never said anything when he was being very flirtatious to other women and other girls. And so after he gets out, he just has he starts having these moments, these spats. And when a guy that Winnie, you know, they meet each other up, and the guy helps her with her car because it broke down, she starts talking to Nelson about it. Like, you know, he's just a friend. He helped me with my car. You know, could you get this fixed? You are income, you know, you could help it. He's like, yes, I'll get it fixed. Da, 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 da. Next thing you know, he does something that changes everything, and Winnie is missing. And he calls the police in a weird way, or the police doesn't. Yeah, he calls the police saying that she's missing. And she's been missing for years now, and her children, and he tells his children, like, you know what, your mom will be back. And he's making it sound like she just left her kids, and her best friends knew that was never the case. She would never leave her children like that at all, with no notification of where she is or where she is at that present time. So as years go on, he's like, okay, when he's gone, she's missing, so she's pretty much dead, right? He says she's dead based on her missing. She's missing. And then he starts being with this other woman, and he gets her pregnant, and they're about to have their own family. But then certain things didn't add up, and that's when her friend Pat and a few others try to have an investigator about this, because Winnie's been missing for years now. Next thing you know, they find her body in some type of wooded area in a different town. And Nelson knows about this area. He knows very well about this town and locations and stuff like that. And the body was identified that it was Winnie. And, you know, her daughter and son were just upset that their mother was dead. And then present day, this is when Nelson is in his 70s, and this is during COVID. So this is during like 2020, year 2020. And he's on his deathbed because he has COVID, and he professes that he's responsible for Winnie's death, and his children go nuts on him. I was like, what? You told us all these years that our mother didn't care about us. She didn't want nothing to do with us, and you were the one that did that? You're the one that took away our mother? So that's how the story ends. And it's really sad, but it's so true nowadays. with, you know, people doing these crazy things, and then, you know, certain bodies come out of nowhere from the woods and people do an investigation of it. But since her body was so decomposed, they really couldn't like connect the two. So he didn't go to jail for Winnie's death whatsoever. And I'm not sure what happens after that, as far as if he does eventually go to jail for the crime that he done. But Marla did say that there probably will be a sequel, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. This was a really good book. Now, like I said, there's content warnings, but this is this is a crime type of story, but it's so realistic, and I do love that about this book, how it's so realistic. So that's why I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, because it hit home, and also the story is located in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, pretty much. So in my hometown, in my city. So I thought that was very cool too. But yeah, 5 out of 5 stars for this book, and you should definitely check it out and see what you think about it. Now, this next book is a picture book that I got for my daughter. She did not know anything about this type of retelling. She's like, this can't be Cinderella. But this is a Cinderella retelling, and it's a Caribbean Cinderella, and it's called Cinderella, right here, by Robert D. Sansashi and illustrated by Brian Pinckney. And here is the cover. Sorry about the glare. But my daughter looked at this cover and she's like, what is this? This is not Cinderella. And I was like, it's a Cinderella retelling, and I really think you would really enjoy it. And she's like, okay, let's read it. And it was so cute. I really love this retelling. I never heard about this book until I looked up certain things for Cinderella retellings, because I did a TikTok for Cinderella retellings, and I found this book, and I'm like, okay, not only am I going to include this in my TikTok, but I'm also going to get this for my daughter, because she has never heard the story of Cinderella portrayed this way, and Cinderella is black on top of that. So I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. My daughter, I think she said she gave it a 4. But I really enjoyed this book. I love the retelling of Cinderella, how she pretty much, her godmother was the person that raised her, you know, as her, you know, mother and father passed away, and she was dealing with her stepmother and stepsisters. But I found this really fascinating. I loved it so much. I definitely would prefer this retelling on any other retelling so much. It's really near and dear to my heart. But yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. My daughter gave it a 4 out of 5 stars just cause. But yes, I love this book. I definitely will be continuing on reading this over and over again to her. So we have this one that I read. Next book that I really enjoyed, I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, because it was just really odd. It made it seem like a lot of things were happening, but it really wasn't. And that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Like I said, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because a lot of stuff didn't happen. It was mostly tons of words, you know, but nothing was really happening. It was just stagnant. But we're following a girl, Evangeline, and her sister Marisol. And it all starts out when Marisol is marrying Evangeline's love of her life. And so she tries to stop their marriage, and so she meets up with, I believe it's called the Fates. She meets up with Jax, and she promised Jax this, and so for him granting her wish or whatever, she would have to do so and so. But it didn't turn out the way she wanted, and then she went into stone. Next thing you know, she wakes up after like 7 days or something, and they say that Luke, I believe Luke is his name, he was mauled by an animal, and so he has a lot of scratches and stuff on him whatsoever. And so Evangeline and Marisol, they end up going to the North. It's called Welcome to the Magnificent North. So this is it's a fantasy, just to let you know. And they meet up with the prince, and you know, Evangeline has this this pink rose type of hair, like it's pink and red, so it's really like vibrant. Like here's Evangeline, so that's what her hair looks like, and that's what she's supposed to look like. But she meets up with the prince. The prince just out of nowhere ended up falling in love with her, and the reason why he was always protective, always possessive of Evangeline is because of Jax and the spell that he has on the prince. And so as the spell was broken, things started to seem really odd and really weird. So Evangeline ended up hanging out with Jax, and then they get to see these other fates and vampires, stuff like that. Next thing you know, we see Luke in a cage, and he's a vampire. And then, you know, Evangeline was trying to set him free, and then next thing you know, Jax gets bit, and now he's a vampire. and it just was really odd. And then we have these other spells where Marisol wasn't responsible for anything but was. So, but then again, we have the prince's brother who was trying to have the prince, his big brother, disappear so that way he could be the prince and then end up being the king of the land. But it was really odd. I did enjoy it though. I mean, it was cute. I think like in this story, I feel like Evangeline and Jax will end up getting together. I feel like I sense it. So I will continue on reading this series, but like I said, there was a lot of words, but nothing was really going on. Like how many pages is this book? It's like close to like 400 pages. And really, it wasn't all, like, a lot of things really didn't happen. So, a lot of words, but was really nothing happening. But, like I said, I will continue on with the series. I really want to find out more about Jax and Evangeline. And also about Marisol. What's going to happen with their relationship as, you know, Evangeline had done some things that Marisol didn't know about that made her have this nickname of the Cursed Bride. And it was all because of Evangeline. So Marisol got pissed off about that. So this, I believe, I do like the whole sisterly perspective, the book of sisterhood and everything of Marisol and then Evangeline coming together and they're, you know, but I don't know. We'll see. I gave it, like I said, 3 out of 5 stars. Hopefully I'll like the next book. I might as well continue on with the series. Maybe it'll get better. I know for Stephanie Garber's book of the Caraval series, some people loved it, some people hated it. So I was in between. That's why I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. So more of like an average rating. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But then I felt like nothing was happening. It was just a lot of words. But hopefully it'll get better for the next book. So we have this one, Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. And then the next book that I read was A Reaper of Souls by Rena Barron. This is the second book of Kingdom of Souls. And I really enjoyed this book when it comes to Aura and Rudrick. We know a few more things about Rudrick and his past and how his Rudrick's father wants to be pretty much take control of everything and really wants to get rid of Aura altogether. And so he banishes Aura due to the actions of her family, as far as her mom and then her sister killing all the tribes children and the tribe's people. But then she starts to figure out that the demons that came about from her sister did not kill all the tribes people. So as she's looking for the tribes people, she then ends up meeting the demon god, and her friend was him the whole time. So you have a different entity that claimed he was Daho but wasn't, and then you have Daho that was saying like Daho that was her friend, though he wasn't he had a different name. And so for this book, I really enjoyed that part. We have the 2 different entities of gods. We have Dima and Daho, and so Daho thinks Aura is Dima, his beloved. His beloved, his love of his life, who had died for centuries ago, like decades ago. And he really thinks that Aura is Dema. It's just, I think like so many generations have come about, and so this is her, but she feels like she is Aura. So it does get a little bit complicated if you haven't read the first book. So I definitely should suggest that you read the first book so you get a gist of what I'm talking about. It can get really complicated real fast. But like I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars due to the complexity of this book and how it looks like it's like a love story intertwined. But deep down, Aura is in love with Rudrick and Rudrick is in love with Aura. But since Rudrick doesn't have magic and Aura does, they could never be together. For that purpose alone, they would end up killing each other, and you know, so and so. And so their love is pretty much forbidden. And then you have Daho that really wants Dima back, and you know, Dima had done some things that Daho doesn't know about, which will go into the 3rd book, Master of Souls, which comes out next year, because Daho doesn't know that Dima killed their child, and Dima left that secret out before she died. Before she, you know, passed away. So Daho doesn't know that secret about Dima. So I feel like in the 3rd book, it's going to get real deep. And I feel like Daho is going to look at Dima a certain way or a different way after he finds out that fact of what happened to their child. And Aura, I think she's just still trying to find herself and trying to figure out, okay, who is Dima? She wants to get into this history of Dima and Daho and what's this all about and why he keeps saying like, you're Dima, you just have, you know, you're in human form, so to speak. So yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. Rena Barron's writing is brilliant. I really love this adventure with magic and gods and goddesses. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars for Reaper of Souls by Rena Barron. Now, this next book I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the book, and I will say I did not expect like how the storyline was gonna go. It was different than what I expected. Let me just say that. And that is Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joy Goffney. This was really cute. We're following a girl named Quinn, and her journal is lost, and she's blaming Carter right here, who she doesn't really care about. But as they're searching for this journal, she starts to check things off her list because somebody is blackmailing her, saying that if you don't do all the lists from your journal, then I'm going to call your parents and let them know that you did not get accepted into a certain college. Which I don't remember at the time what college it was. I think it was like Spelman or something like that. Or Stanford. So she's doing all these things off the list. That way she doesn't get in trouble by her parents. So as they're still searching for this, for a journal, like I said, they're doing everything off the list, and Carter is also helping her trying to look for her journal. And then she starts to realize certain things about herself, like how she did not like her blackness, due to her best friends that she was hanging out with, like Destiny for one, who was making jokes about her blackness and stuff like that. And I think that's what got Quinn to not like or love herself for being black. And that, I can see that being a thing as she's being pressured about herself and her, and the way she looks and the color of her skin. And this is located in Texas, I believe. So as we're doing this, Quinn is starting to know more and more about herself and starting to love herself. And she's also starting to have feelings for Carter. And then come to find out, as she's going through all her lists and everything, she does end up confessing to her parents that she did not get accepted into Stanford. And as the story goes on, Quinn starts to notice certain things about her family and how her mom and dad are constantly arguing. And Quinn comes to the conclusion that once she goes to college, her parents will get a divorce. But then they end up compromising, and they are going to start going to therapy. But as certain things are uncovered, we realize that Quinn's best friend, Destiny, and Gia are the ones responsible for blackmailing her and taking her journal in the first place. But Carter also makes a confession that he did read her journal. He told her that he only read like the first page, but he read the entirety of her journal, and she felt like upset about it. She didn't want to have anything to do with Carter. And he then confessed why he read her journal is because he actually deep down had a crush on her, even though he was so mean to her in the beginning and he was an asshole. But I really enjoyed this story. Like, Joy Goffney had really done a fantastic job with this. I really do love how Quinn ends up loving her blackness, loving her hair, loving who she is as a person and a human being. I do love that and admire that about Quinn for doing that. Also, just as she's on this journey looking for her journal, because I feel like at that time she's around all these different people that she really didn't used to hang around. And so I really felt like I think she did like the fact that her journal was taken and was stolen. I know she didn't like the whole blackmailing part, but I think if her journal wasn't stolen, it wasn't taken away from her, I think she wouldn't have done everything on her list that she wanted to do in the first place. So I really loved this book. Like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to be reading more from Joy Goffney. I love the writing style. I did listen to this on audiobook, and I also love the narrator for it. But this was a great book, and also the cover was amazing, so it's a cover buy as well. But yeah, if you haven't read this, I suggest you do so. This is so cute, and it definitely displays black love. But yeah, a 4 out of 5 stars for Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joy Goffney. Now, this next book, I was thinking about doing my own review about it, but I'm not sure, and that is The Starless Crown. This book comes out on January the 4th of next year, and I really enjoyed this. This is an adult sci-fi fantasy, and we are following a girl named Nyx, and she is blind when we know her, or when we first begin to know her, but then her sight comes back, and then we start knowing certain things about her and her family and her history, where she had come from, her father, mother, and everything like that. And we have all these other different characters. So I might actually do my own review about it, own video about that one. It was so good. I'm so thankful that I got approved from it from NetGalley. They were able to get the audiobook of it actually. So I was able to listen to it and I fell in love with it. I think it's going to be a great series. The series is called Moonfall. So and I will say, if you like N.K. Jemisin and the Broken Earth trilogy, and then if you also like The Witcher, like the books and also like the series on Netflix and so, I think you'll definitely will enjoy this. I definitely got some N.K. Jemisin vibes when I read it. Like, I really loved it so much. I love sci-fi fantasy. It was so amazing. But yeah, I think I will do my own review about that one separately from this video, so definitely wait out for that one. But that is it. That is my mid-month wrap up for December. I still have a few more books I'm planning on reading before November is out and before the end of the year. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe button, that bell, to be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you so much for watching, you guys, and please stay healthy and stay safe. See ya.